Hi, my name is Alay, Kealoha, Gerlock-Barretto. My sign name is AAK. I am a formator for the first year formation program here in the Ateneo. We call the program the Binhi program. Binhi is the Filipino word for seed, and it's tied to the academic subject understanding the self, which is required for all Filipino first year college students. As you know, when the pandemic hit, we were all forced to pivot to an online setting. And it wasn't feasible for us to have students stay in an area or community in a Zoom call for 8 hours. So we had to figure out how to translate that in a setting that would still be meaningful, enjoyable, and educational for all. So here's how we did it. First, we started with a preparatory session. During the preparatory session, we would give the students an opportunity to ask questions about the community, the person that they would be talking to, and ask questions about each other to get to know the people in their group. As you know, in an online setting, we lose a lot of the things that we took for granted on site. Things like, have you had lunch yet? Let's go to the cafeteria. Or, excuse me, is anyone seated here? Or aren't you my classmate in English? So they needed the space to get to know each other before they met somebody new. And then we proceeded to the online Kwentuhan sessions. So this would be 2 online sessions of an hour and a half via Zoom, Gmeet, or Facebook Messenger rooms where they would get to know somebody from a urban poor community, an advocacy center, or our community partners. For me in particular, I handle students from the Department of Information Systems and Computer Science. So their department requested that their students be brought to communities with PWDs. Some of my communities are, sorry, I'm a little bit nervous, are people who are visually impaired. And during the online Kwentuhan sessions, between the first one and the second online Kwentuhan session, we would give the students a taste of what it was like to use accessibility features in an everyday setting. So did you know that all phones now have accessibility features? You can set it whether you have an Android or an iPhone. There's an accessibility feature called a screen reader or a read aloud, where it will read everything that appears on your screen. There's also games for the visually impaired. One of my favorites is called A Blind Legend, wherein the hero of the story has a nephew, I think, who is guiding him throughout. So nothing will appear on your screen, it will be blank. And the nephew will be guiding you throughout, like, you have to move to the left or duck to the right. And you have to move the cursor in that direction. So you need earphones to get good quality audio. One of my favorite features is audio description on Netflix, where the audio description fills in the silences. As people who see, we take for granted things like, she looks to the left and walks into the room. And then all of a sudden, he looks at her back and she says, see, that those kind of things don't need to be described if you see what's happening, but if you don't, then it gives you a clear picture of what's going on, even if you can't really see what's going on. I use that to put my child to sleep sometimes. She doesn't know I'm watching a show while I'm putting her to sleep, so don't tell her. Another one of my communities is from the deaf community. And with them, we need to hire an interpreter because even if they sign or they lip read, it's not as seamless as talking to you verbally. So the interpreter helps translate, and I prepare the students ahead of time for this. One of the highlights of my sessions with the deaf community is that by the end of the second online Kwentuhan, all the students have their own sign names. Usually it's based on how you look. So either say Nate has wavy hair. So Nate, it's an N with wavy hair. Or Geo, Geo has glasses. G with glasses, like that. So, but someone who is deaf has to be the one to give you the sign name. The students feel a sense of ownership and a sense of being an ally because it's not as difficult as they thought it would be to interact with someone who's visually impaired or someone who's hearing impaired. And that's what we get from it. In Binhi, we believe that ang lahat ng tao ay may kwenta kasi ang lahat ng tao ay may kwento, which translates to, but is not as beautiful to hear in English as it is in Filipino. Everyone has their worth because everyone has stories to tell. And during the online Kwentuhan sessions, we share a lot of stories about ourselves, about the people we're with, about stories that we've heard. We talk about current events. We talk about what's going on in society. And the hope is that by the time the students get to their third year, where they have Bigis, which is a service learning program, that they will be able to apply what they learned in Binhi and have gotten rid of that inhibition about talking to strangers. We end the program with a processing session. So this is where we tie together the concepts that they learn in class and also reflections on the experience itself. A lot of my students say that the online Kwentuhan sessions have provided a venue for them to ask questions that they wouldn't otherwise ask people who are part of the PWD sector. And they leave with a sense of solidarity and a sense of purpose that when they do eventually become people who develop software or technology, or at least in their everyday lives, they're more aware. You don't just walk up to someone who is blind and go, "Excuse me, can I help you cross the road?" You ask politely. Or when somebody says, "Oh, but he's deaf," you don't just talk to whoever the other person is with. You can talk to the person and then just ask the person they're with to translate if the person can't understand you. But it's more about seeing the world as equal. And I think we have a lot of work to do in that front. But, one student at a time, one day at a time. Thank you so much for listening to me. Thank you.